I really appreciate, I know many people are going to come in, but I think it's not a bad thing that it's, a few of us, because it's an intimate event, we can, share openly. So I'm glad to see many of Sister Dianna's friends and TASSC friends, TASSC members, staff as well. So this is really awesome. Again, I'm Leonce, the Executive Director of TASSC. As Nancy said, Sister Dianna has really brought, a smile to many people's faces, as Amal mentioned, but she was also a tough person in terms of, accountability, bringing people to, fighting for justice for those who committed atrocities. So we're really happy to be part of TASSC and actually, trying to do what she started. Today, I can say that, Andrea is here. She works for TASSC for the advocacy. We are using a tool that Sister Dianna created in the US legal system, the Torture Victim Protection Act. She was the first person who have, actually it was created because of her, but now so many people are being brought to justice because of the Torture Victim Protection Act. And TASSC is now part of that work, because TASSC now is bringing people to justice through the Torture Victim Protection Act. We are working with people like CGA, with SELU to bring people to justice because of the tool that Sister Dianna, inspired creating. So we believe that that's her legacy, and TASSC is going to continue to do that. As John mentioned, there are so many people who are still in jail. You mentioned Honduras. This is something I didn't know, but I think we can look into it as well, if there is anything can be done. So without taking longer, I will invite Mr. John from IPS to say something.
Great. Well, what an incredible treat to be with you all. First, just so have worked for only 39 years at the Institute for Policy Studies, and got to know Dianna through that. I do want to say, I think you all know this, we gave our annual Human Rights Awards, which we give in the names of Orlando Letelier and Ronnie Moffat, to TASSC in the honor of Sister Dianna last year. So,
Dianna, oh Lord.
So I just want to say, first, huge thanks to TASSC and for what all of you do. I mean, I got to know it through Orlando Tizon and Dianna, and you do extremely important but very hard work. Dianna came to a lot of our award ceremonies over the years, and I went to a lot of TASSC events over the years, and I just want to say our events, in a sense, were easier to plan. We were lifting up human rights heroes. TASSC every year, pulling people together around protecting torture survivors, just incredibly hard work. So I just wanted to say three quick things about, as I've been thinking about Dianna over this past week. One, so I got to know Dianna really before her vigil, but then spent time at her vigil, and I would say, and then after with TASSC. And two things really stood out. I mean, I can't think of anybody who had such a combination of a very gentle humility, but combined with just a steely determination to get to the truth, even if the truth was truly hidden, and to stand up for people and with people whose voices had been denied. Just that combination. And one thing I'll just say, I don't know if any of you are from New Mexico, but we have a fellowship program in New Mexico, and a new great person comes every year. And Dianna grew up in Western New Mexico, in an area that's the culture is this beautiful combination of Mexican American culture and Native American culture. And I've seen that combination in people from New Mexico. So maybe that's a piece of it, but what a beautiful, beautiful combination. Secondly, I feel that it's so important today for us to remember the work that she did in really trying to expose and get to the heart of US government lies that were so central to US policy during the Cold War. And I just want to, I think probably most of you have read Dianna's book. And it's interesting, it's the 20th anniversary now, but the Blindfold's Eyes. And I just, if any of you by any chance haven't, I really want to commend it to you. It's funny, I took it out. After she died, I read it again. And I realized I'd never really read it the whole time 20 years ago when I got it, because it was just too hard. But I have in it is this invitation to its release at the National Press Club, which I remember, and there's this beautiful inscription. But I just want to say it's also how I learned about some of the work that some of you in this beautiful gathering did. Mary Fabry, oh my God, just wow. But so first of all, I want to say it's the most honest book I've ever read. But why it's, I think, important today for people is both remembering what the US did in these countries, but two, basically it's a book about human love and solidarity, the power of love and solidarity in Dianna, but in the people around her who fought until they got some measure of truth and justice. So, and then finally, let me just say, I know we were talking about this at the beginning with Scott and Jean and others here. I so wish Dianna had lived one more year, because just the last year in Latin America is the beginning of a turning from what she fought. And I was so struck, right? I remember this, the days that her final week, Dianna's final week last February, was a week in which an indigenous activist, lawyer named Yaku Perez, almost made it into the second round of the Ecuadorian elections. It was just mind-blowing, and it sort of changed things there. Then in November, we had the Honduras, Xiomara Castro in Honduras, throwing off 12 years of, again, the worst kinds of US policies, and she wins, and things can happen. And finally, just to say, many of you, our institute has been totally wrapped up in the history of Chile. Again, a country where the US did the most horrible things during the Cold War, and a student leader, 35-year-old Gabriel Boric, won the presidency in December. He's bringing all these 30-year-olds into his cabinet, 14 of the 24 are women. And the US is trying to act differently towards Honduras, towards Chile, but it's got 50 years of doing it wrong on its backs. But the wrongs that Dianna exposed, and I hope you're all, there's still some terrible things in Latin America. El Salvador is going through a hard period. Guatemala, her blessed Guatemala, is still in a tough situation, but these other things are coming up, and she would be very happy. So with all of this, anyway, just a few thoughts, and mainly I'm giving a plug though for both the book, her book that she did with Pat Davis, and TASSC. Support TASSC, all of us. Back to you, Leonce.
Thank you so much, John. It's really great to hear from you. All that historical background, it's really strong, and it continues today. So thank you so much for what you just shared. Why don't we, Mary Fabry, why don't you say something? John mentioned you, but I know you're also a very close friend to Sister Dianna, but also had very deep connections with her. So why don't you share something with us, Mary Fabry?
Thank you. Thank you for doing this memorial. Last year, when things were happening, I couldn't talk because it was too emotional. And I feel like it's I'm just off the brink of too much emotion connected to her loss. But if I think about Dianna, I think two things. One is how good she was at creating community. Wherever she went, she created community, and we're all part of that community. And then the other thing I think is she really made me step out of the box. You know, our relationship was all about stepping outside the box in our relationship to each other and the roles that we had in each other's lives and in other people's lives. It was really like an amazing collaboration that we had over the years, and one that I still miss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Poppy. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming with your friends. So really appreciate. So I'm going to ask Scott. You know, Scott also has a lot of, you know, knowledge about TASSC, but also about Sister Dianna. I always go to Scott when I have, you know, there's something I don't understand very well. He always knows where it is, and you know the historical background of it. But so Scott.
Thank you, Leonce, and thank you, John, for your words. And first of all, just an acknowledgement to survivors on this call. I know, Sufi, you were one of the co-founders of TASSC with Sister Dianna, and Orlando Tison, we were mentioning him earlier. But we're so very grateful. And for the directors that succeeded her, ones I knew, Dempsey, Gazachu, and now Leonce, just a deep word of gratitude. And to you, Mary Fabry, because you held so much together and been that bridge between survivors and allies and persons like ourselves who are not survivors. Just a tribute to TASSC as a real model of a survivor-led organization, and so very grateful. So I worked actually in the position that Andrea, who's on the webinar today, the advocacy from 2009 to 2013.
Well, hi, I've heard you've been here, but I haven't seen you.
And I just want to say what a privilege it was to work with TASSC and in relationship with survivors during those years. It was, you know, that fierce humility and that fierce resilience and determination to get justice and truth that John mentioned about Dianna is so true of, I think, all of you who are survivors. And it's a deep sense of gratitude for your gift to us, and also your invitation to step up and be those strong allies for justice and for truth. I want to just mention very briefly 2 or 3 short things about Dianna. One is, well, before I do that, also to acknowledge Sister Alice Zachman, who was really the first to invite Dianna to a space, the first TASSC office at the Guatemalan Human Rights Commission. And the first thing I wanted to mention was I remember, and I associate often Dianna with another dear friend who also became a dear friend of TASSC, Pat Rice, who was a survivor from Argentina. And I remember on a visit that Pat came to Washington, we went to meet Dianna at the Guatemalan Human Rights Commission. And those of you who remember, the TASSC office was on the 3rd floor in what was like an attic. You had to kind of climb up a ladder. And Patrick, you know, is probably 6'2". I can just see him climbing up and having to duck into this little cubby hole, which was the TASSC office at the Guatemalan Human Rights Commission. And I think of Dianna and Patrick, we all have different memories. I think of them together because they were both such deeply faithful, deeply committed, deeply community people, and deeply fiercely committed to justice and to truth, and both survivors. And I think, you know, in Guatemala, the UN characterized it as a genocide, which the US supported, and 200,000 indigenous people were killed. In Argentina, 30,000 people were disappeared. And through the work of survivors like Dianna and Patrick, the UN finally declared that there is such a thing as a right to truth. And they declared that, I think, in 2012, well, it was declared before and then finally ratified on March 24th, which coincidentally is the assassination date of Archbishop Oscar Romero, another human rights hero in El Salvador. But that's one, is just the fierce determination of Dianna and survivors like her and Patrick to win that significant global right to the truth. I think is just amazing, and TASSC is certainly to be credited along with Sister Dianna and all survivors for that. Finally, and this is, well, second and a short third. The second is both Jean and I had the privilege to live with Dianna on a daily basis in the CC community for almost 2 years. And what struck me, and it's also true, I lived with Patrick for a year just after he was tortured, and he came to Washington in the late 1970s. We lived together. But to realize what a struggle it is each day, and I only do this as a witness because I'm not a survivor, but the amazing human resilience of survivors on a daily basis, to simply make it through the day, to simply be able to, at moments, you know, moments of grace, to be able to be joyful. But that hour by hour, minute by minute, day by day witness of survivors, simply to human life, is just incredible and such a gift to those of us who have been able to share it. And finally, I did send this invitation to Father Joe Nangle and Marie Dennis. I'm not sure if they're on the call. They were the CC community founders and also lived with Dianna for, you know, those 20 years that she lived in community, 20 or 30 years actually. But just to share what they shared with many of us, as Dianna was dying, her final days and hours, they were with her. And that in their words, they felt that there was such a sense of peace in her death and dying, that she died at peace. And I think that's knowing that she had given it all, and given it all with the support of the community of survivors, given it all the community of her family and Ursuline sisters, and people like all of us on the webinar. But just to know that she died in peace, but she was, you know, throughout her life, just a witness to human life, resilience, solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scott. And thank you, Scott and Jean, for the work you're doing at the border. I think we need you. We need people like you there and what you're doing. So a great job, and you know, let us know how we can support you. But thank you for doing that. So I'm going to give a mic to Andrea. She's a TASSC staff. She's in charge of the advocacy. She's doing a great job, you know, fighting for survivors of torture at the Congress, at the State Department, and many other areas. She will take 2 minutes, and then we're going to give the mic to Amal, who is a TASSC member, a wonderful woman. She just came from Sudan, fighting for the democracy in Sudan, but she's also a singer, so she's going to express herself singing. So Amal, get yourself ready as Andrea speaks.
So
And also,
it's funny.
go ahead.
No, Leonce, go ahead, finish.
I was going to say that I think we just got a group joining with Susan Sims. So welcome.
It's very funny because I just got off the phone with Amal 10 minutes ago. So, so I did not know Dianna really well. I only met her a few times. But just listening to what I think the two things that, based on what you all told me, that inspired me and that has enabled us to carry on the spirit of Dianna are two things. First, enable survivors to speak for themselves. So we now have a great number of survivors, not only in Washington, D.C., but with the encouragement of Leonce throughout the whole entire country. So we probably have, and one of the silver linings in this horrendous corona epidemic has been people's use of Zoom. So for us, it's really worked great. So we have about 30 survivors, not only in Washington, but throughout the country, who are communicating with congressional members and so forth on Zoom from all over the world, not just from Africa. And what inspires me every day in my job is enable survivors to speak for themselves, that they have the courage, that they want to speak. They don't want to be overprotected by people. They have a voice. And the second thing is this, I think I don't remember who said this, whether it was Scott or Mary, but someone talked about creating a community of survivors. So we now have a community of survivor advocates, and Amal is part of it. And she just got back from Sudan, but she now is going to have a big job.
Yay!
A big job continuing our work with survivor advocates. And I think the last thing I want to say is that survivors really are taking the lead. They are really driving the agenda. So what we're working on, which is mostly the backlog for affirmative asylum seekers that USCIS has forgotten about and neglected, that's coming from them. That's what they want us to do. And we're doing it. And they're doing a fabulous job. So I think Sister Dianna, looking up from heaven, would be very proud of the survivors from all over the world and what TASSC has been able to do so that they feel, and they're getting some results too. It's not just making them feel good, they're getting some results. So
Yes. Sorry.
Amal, go ahead.
No, let me mute the, someone is knocking the door. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, Andrea. As Amal gets ready, I was saying that Suzanne and your team, can you come at the microphone, Suzanne? Okay, I think she's. So Sufi,
Please,
why don't
Leonce, I can't mute it from here. Sorry.
I can mute for
Yeah.
you. Okay. Yeah, Sufi.
Yes. Well, I never seen a person like Sister Dianna, which is I have still messages from January 6th. Sufi, please add my name. He endorsed my work. And always seen a smiling face, smiling soul, very strong person. I have seen her with international community from any region, and she knows how to talk and because from her spirit, from her soul. Even I remember she met my mother and father. My mother and father doesn't know the English, but the way she communicate is still in my mother and father both gone, Sister Dianna gone, but I always seen, even my father mentioned about her in his book, which is coming soon, that my mother and father met with Sister Dianna and how she was communicating, and I was translating in my humble English. And Sister Dianna, I have seen in Kennedy Center, Truth Speaker, where the Hillary Clinton was there, world speakers were there, Nobel Peace Prize, Jose Ramos Horta were there. Sister Dianna was on the stage and as a truth speaker. I have seen when she was speaking to the powerful people for the powerless people, voiceless people. She was a very humble, very down-to-earth person. I haven't deleted even her voice message to my phone. Every month I check that it is there or not. I always try to, before it gone, I always keep her voice as a source of inspiration. Really, Sister Dianna connect with you all guys. We are all together because of Sister Dianna. Sister Dianna was the person, really, whenever I met, I always see her face smiling. It gives person. Beautiful. And whenever I feel little bit down about the struggle, I think about Sister Dianna. So she is the source of inspiration for in our struggle. And like John said in IPS, as a speaker in our program, Sister Dianna was sitting party where one speaker was there and we were talking about the politics, but truth. Sister Dianna on the side of the history's truth side. These are people are very rare in the world, and in the protest, in the advocacy, wherever. I think I have many friends in Washington, D.C., but Sister Dianna, Orlando, Harold, that's a great family. I just put it in that way. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about my wonderful friend, Sister Dianna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sufi, for sharing. I'll ask Mary Fabry, is one of your friends willing to share with us?
Hi to everybody. My name is Asad Bushkaila. We are sitting in my home in Phoenix, Arizona, where I am practicing psychiatry. And I met Dianna in probably 1996 or 7 in Chicago in Kohler Center. And met her a few times later on some presentation. The most interesting for me was our like unspoken understanding of trauma, because I'm coming from Bosnia, survived 6 concentration camps, and when we talk, we never mentioned details because there was no need. It was mutual understanding.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Amal, are you ready? Are you ready, Amal?
She's muted.
Oh, yes, I am
okay.
ready.
Okay.
I'm gonna sing something close to the occasion. I'm sending it to Sister Dianna's soul, and I hope she and all the others before her in the line to empower us to do a little bit of what they did. So it's a prayer or him asking God to watch over the humanity and relieve them from the injustice and all that. Okay. بيتي أنا بيتك وما يلي حدا من كتر ما ناديتك وسع المدى وسع المدى وسع المدى نطرتك عبابي وكل الابواب كتبت لك عذابي عشمس الغياب عشمس الغياب عشمس الغياب لا تهملني لا تنساني يا شمس المساكين من أرض الخوف من دهلك يا شمس المساكين من أيام الموعودين من لفتات المظلومين عم اندهلك خلي ضوي صوتك علي أنا عالوعد وقلبي طاير صوبك غني أنا زهرة من زهورك باركني ساعدني بالدمع بتزرعني بالفرح بتحصدني عدلك فاض علي كرمك طوعني إذا كل نسيوني وحدك ما بتنساني ناديتك من حزني عرفت إنك معي وسعي يا مطارح ويا أرض اركعي ناديتك من حزني عرفت إنك معي سعي يا مطارح يا مطارح يا مطارح ويا أرض اركعي سعي يا مطارح يا مطارح يا مطارح يا مطارح ويا أرض اركعي God rest her soul in peace.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. That was really amazing. Thank you, Amal. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie.
Oh, Amal, go ahead.
No, I just answering Sophie, replying to answer to Sophie's message. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you, Amal. So Fikadu, do you want to say something? Fikadu?
Yes, yes. You give me time, a chance. Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
Okay, hello everybody. It's a great day, but for me really it's a very, very sad day yesterday because I didn't hear about Sister Diana's death till yesterday or a day before. announcement of this Memorial Day. I'm so heartbroken, really, to hear about that. It's a long time since I got connected to TASSC because of different reasons, which I regret really. Of all people I used to know is I just saw Sufi and also Mary, and that's all I think. Orlando and Harold were there that time. I don't know, Sufi can probably remind me the date when it was. It was in 1990 something, I think. Definitely, I'm from Toronto, Canada, and my colleague Aisha, we were there at least twice, I think, every year for the vigil and also to celebrate the day of survivors, victim of torture. And so really I was heartbroken by hearing that. I'm sorry, really, I'm very sad. And of course, I know Sister Dianna went directly to heaven. She is just in front, besides her Lord, her Father, whom she loved, for whom she served on this earth for her people, for those who are in sorrow and torture, in prison, and all that. She did what she ought to do. And I took out then her book, which she gave it to me, and I would like to read what note she wrote on it for me at that time. Sophie, I don't know when it was really, the exact year.
2000.
But it was in DC,
Yeah.
at TASSC's office in Maryland. And on her book, it says, to Fakadu, my hero, thank you for teaching me how to trust in the human family and using my experience to bring hope to others. Thank you for speaking truth to power. You are my inspiration, my hero. Forever grateful, your sister Dianna. I read this, I cried the day before. It's unfortunate I was disconnected for one reason or the other. In fact, I used to come to DC, especially the last 2 years. I could have connected, probably saw her also, but I didn't. I regret that very much. Life regret. And I'm sorry for that, guys. We have to be strong and believe that she went for good to her father. She's in heaven. She's enjoying and singing for God. And God has taken in, I see. I'm a Christian, a devoted religion. So I believe in Bible. And such people like her directly go to heaven. So we shouldn't be that much desperate, but we have to celebrate her work, her life, and continue the project she started. Victims of torture. The name of TASSC is abolition of torture, but that is continuous still, guys. It continues in my country. It continues in the chamber, torturing chamber. I was tortured for 12 hours in Ethiopia during the socialist military government. And really, the video stopped. It says, but let me. Are you hearing me?
Yes, Ricardo.
Okay, so I don't want really to make a long speech, but I just wanted to express my sorrow, my sadness. And God bless her, keep her with her, forgive whatever. She's a human, but the best human. Forgive for what the transgressions she did, and keep her with her, and let us be inspired and do what she started on earth to relieve the pain of the others. And thank you for setting up this occasion. I wouldn't have heard even about her death if you didn't arrange this Memorial Day. Thank you, everybody. A special greetings to Sufi Mary, whom I know. I don't know where Orlando is and Harold is. I hope they are around and alive and still serving probably. Thank you for everybody who attended this and give us some about Dianna, Sister Dianna. Thank you. And when I'll come to, definitely I'll come because my elder brother is sick of cancer, brain cancer. He is in Virginia. He used to come, and I'll come shortly. I will visit the office as well. God will. Thank you. Be great and strong. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. And if you come back in DC, please pass by. And also, unfortunately, Orlando also passed. They're still in our minds, and they continue to inspire our work. So thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to share a very short video. I think it's 2 minutes. Just bear with me.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, I survived my torture. I suppose one can say that I was given a second chance. I emerged from that experience literally seeing the world with new eyes. It was a moral responsibility to speak the truth of the horrors of torture and to join with other torture survivors in breaking the silence which surrounds torture. Survivors, we founded TASSC, the Torture Abolition and Survivor Support Coalition International. Our members come from countries around the world. Each of us is a survivor of torture, and each of us is committed to working to end torture in the world. Torture was supposed to silence us, destroy us, yet we are not silenced. We are not destroyed. We are, if you will, social entrepreneurs working in the world of human rights. We know that torture strikes without regard to gender, race, ethnicity, religion, or class. We know firsthand that the menacing wave of torture infects not only the tortured, but family, community, and society. Torture will never leave us. It will travel with us all our days. But it has not defeated us. Instead, our terrible knowledge of this crime against humanity has given us a new strength and a new commitment. We are determined to ensure that what happened to us must never happen to you, your loved ones, and your friends. We invite you to join with us in this endeavor to abolish the practice of torture, which occurs in more than 150 nations today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you managed to see the video, but that was a message of Sister Dianna that continues to inspire us. I should say we are social entrepreneurs working with survivors of torture to advance the seeking for justice, for the right to truth, as Scott mentioned. And Fekadu, as you mentioned, I think those who tortured people or still torturing, they have to be held accountable, and that's what Sister Dianna has continued to fight for. We have only 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask Jean. Jean, do you want to say something quickly?
Well, I'm a bit moved, just teary. I just want to thank TASSC for your ongoing work, for every survivor who, like Dianna, has brought the truth. And as John said earlier on, unmasking the US policies that have created the conditions to enable torture. I imagine that the group of women that we see under Suzanne's name is the Sisters of Loretto gathered, and if so, thank you for giving Dianna to us, those of us in the DC circles, be TASSC. We also lived at Assisi. Dianna also, her last position was as the deputy director for Pax Christi USA. And what was said about her, I was on staff as well, but then had left and she had come on. And I think Scott and I both have been on the National Council. And when you would come in at the staff, you could see Dianna just gathering people around a candle or around a bouquet of flowers, taking time to build community wherever she went. And the story I'll tell of Dianna when we lived with her, and again, our daughter was pretty young. It was 2 months before the war started in Iraq. That's how you think about this. So she's 23 now. She was in preschool. And Dianna, when she was around kids, she would just fall in love and become full of life. So as much as we know what she carried in terms of the pain, the utter pain, she would just light up and love our dear Maura. And Maura was at a school, a preschool that was Christian Family Montessori. And every year they would celebrate Loved Ones Day. It was right around Mother's Day. They didn't celebrate Mother's Day or Father's Day, but Loved Ones Day. And you had to invite someone who was not your parents. And several years that we lived there, she took Dianna in. So I just want to affirm that part of her that loved so well, that is in each of us when we need a measure of courage to draw on her spirit. And I'll end with her picture, which is my favorite, of her letting out a butterfly in front of the Supreme Court in one of the TASSCs. That's our Dianna. Thank you, Dianna.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for sharing. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing the picture as well. There's someone from Suzanne's team able to speak to us? Suzanne, does someone from your community want to say something quickly? It seems like you're muted. You're muted.
Left at the very bottom.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity for us. We just joined in prayer before this and we were a little late getting in. So we can watch it on the recording later. But I want you to know that our prayers every day, we pray as community with the whole Universal Church. And you help remind us this morning that the Church Universal, tortured Universal, needs our prayers still. And we are just so excited and honored that we have with us Sister Dianna's mother, Amby. And I don't have a camera to show you. Amby, can you wave your hand? That is Sister Dianna's mother who came from New Mexico with her sister, Michelle, and Michelle's husband, Richard Salazar, and Dianna's brother, John Ortiz. So we know that you have them close to your hearts as we do. And so we feel very privileged that they would come and share this time, this day with us, and several days that they would drive that long, 1,200 plus miles to get here. So we're grateful for all you do to continue Dianna's work. And of course, we support you with our prayers and anything else we can because of your love for the humanity and the ways in which you've been inspired by Dianna, as have we. So thank you.
That's really, really awesome. What a good way to really close our day. You know, we're very glad to see Sister Dianna's family and her community. That means a lot to us. It means a lot. We want to let you know that we love her, we loved her, and we'll continue to love her. And torture survivors from around the world are enjoying things that she initiated, you know, speaking out, seeking justice, you know, the right to truth. So we really, really appreciate that you gave Dianna to us. And thank you. Let's continue to pray together for the end of torture around the world. And thank you everyone who have joined. We were not able to get everyone to speak, but please continue to think about TASSC and the legacy of Sister Dianna, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Blessing.